little. Okay, we'll go ahead and call tonight's Monday, April 20th legislative session to order at 5:35 p.m. If I could please get everybody to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. All right, thank you, everyone. I'll just remind our council of our shared beliefs of being open and honest. And I know there's a whole host of others that we have as well, but if I could please get roll call.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Larry Bowman.
Present.
Davin Perry.
Present.
Cassandra Quisnell. Carrie Bro.
Present.
Bill Campbell.
Present.
Jesse Camacho.
Present.
Jennifer Morton.
Present.
And let the record show the following staff are in attendance. We've got City Manager Albert Tripp, City Attorney Daniel Gibbons, Lieutenant Jake Keith, Captain Jake Keith, sorry about that, Lieutenant Aaron Madison, Parks and Recreation Director J.C. Kennedy, Grants Manager Elise Manati, and Zan Supita.
All right, thank you. Tonight's agenda, we do have two changes, minor, for item B on the action items. We're going to go ahead and table that. And then item C, we're going to go into executive session to discuss. And then after that, we will take action on that item. Was that? Yeah, so that'll be at the end. And then I think that is it. Council, what would we like to do about tonight's agenda approval?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Any questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. And then as far as Cassandra.
Albert, do we have any information on why Miss Quisnell's absent again?
And Ms. Quisnell's message to me, she was asking if the meetings this evening was accessible via Zoom. So I'm just going to reply back to let her know it is. So it's possible she might join
Okay.
via Zoom.
Yeah, and if we could make sure that all of the council members get the Zoom link and everything else to it, because we've had two different links before, and one of them is the general one, and then one is specific to this meeting. It's happened in the past. It happened to me a couple times. No? Yeah. Well, I know she was having something regarding work, but yeah, I think we do need to have a discussion regarding this. Albert, is there any way that we can put this on the agenda for next week for the excessive absences?
For the study session next week, council actually has its retreat schedule. So maybe the subsequent study session.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can add that to it.
And then if you can reach out to see if there's anything. Okay. I appreciate it. All right, council, this evening we have Miss Cassandra not in attendance. And hopefully we get to see her on Zoom, but what do we like to do about her absence?
Move to approve the absence.
All right, I have a motion to approve the absence. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, so that motion. 3 opposed. So I got 4 yeas and then 2 opposed on that. All right, so that matter passes. That'll move us into, okay, and then she just joined. All right. Moot point. All right, any council reports?
I'd like to provide a little update on the information with the STA tax initiative to renew and continue the sales tax for transit. We were set, I thought, to vote on that at the last meeting this past Thursday. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of public comment. But then we had a gentleman from Greater Spokane Incorporated participated remotely during the public comment period at the beginning of the meeting and implored the board of directors to defer voting until that they could get some of the STA leadership to meet directly and personally with GSI and I guess some of their other constituent and partner organizations. So as it stands right now, the resolution to put that issue on a ballot in August is temporarily being held up pending a meeting with GSI on April 28th, which is next Tuesday. And then after that, the board will have a special meeting on Wednesday, the 29th, where presumably we will hear what the outcome of that meeting was with GSI. And then hopefully we'll decide what we're going to do with this ballot measure. At this point, we're up against the time crunch a little bit, because if we're going to get that ballot for August, we have to file it with the county clerk by May 1st. So that only gives them approximately a day and a half to polish up that resolution, depending on how that meeting goes. One of the issues that also came up during discussion that I didn't realize was that the proposal that's being put forward, or hopefully will be put forward, does not include a sunset clause to this tax collection as the 2016 version had. That caused some consternation amongst some of the members of the board. And so I would appreciate if I could get kind of just the head nods or any consensus or opinions about that issue. I hadn't really thought about it. And like I say, it just kind of escaped my attention. I think personally, just as a taxpayer, I think I would be in favor of a sunset clause. It provides some, in my mind anyway, built-in accountability of the board to the public. So I would be happy to put forth whatever message we have on that score at that special meeting.
Well, how about this? We bring it to a vote real quick, and then we can draft a letter either way it goes upon a vote. A vote, we take a vote on it real quick about that, and then Albert, would you be okay with that? We would have to amend the agenda.
Is there a timing consideration? Councilmember Campbell, is there a time consideration in terms of, do you need it by a certain date?
I would only need it prior to our next special meeting, which is scheduled for the 29th. So we could address this at next week's study session.
I mean, would that be all right? Either or?
Either or. I think if council takes a vote and gives Councilmember Campbell the direction that, that would be adequate. And if you would like to follow up with a letter, we can put that together too.
Okay, well, with that, let's go ahead and move to, if I can get a motion to amend the agenda to add that to tonight, and then we'll just add it into the, we'll just add it to action items under item AA.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that we amend the agenda to take up the question of the STA tax proposal to include a sunset clause.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? All right. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously to amend the agenda, and then we'll put it on as item AA. All right. All right, anything else as far as council reports?
If no one else from the Public Works Committee, I'd be curious on a synopsis of how the Public Works Committee on the water rates went last week.
And then also there was a meeting today, correct? At 1 o'clock?
Correct. The Public Works Committee met today at 1. This particular topic was different though from last Monday. Today was kind consideration of a request for reclaimed water from a company called Apricus.
Okay.
Relative though to the public records, or sorry, the public works meeting from last Monday, we did do a recording of the meeting. Turns out it was pretty large, so we can't transmit it via email. But I do have a thumb drive here, copying it across that you'll be able to take with you this evening.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I do not have any other than the fact that Albert, I don't know if you have to RSVP for Chewy's retirement, but I think it'd be huge to not only support the change of command for the base, but also see off one heck of a decorated pilot for Fairchild Air Force Base. So he was this is not the first time that the base commander has been stationed here. And yeah, I've seen him around a little bit. He is absolutely an incredible leader for our airmen out there. And so I'd like to at least go honor him and try to support him and his family as we see them off and bring on the new base commander out there. So that's all I had. And that'll move staff reports.
Are there any staff reports?
Chair and council, I just have one quick update. For those of the council who would like to attend, who are not former service members, if you would like to attend, do let me know, and then we can start stepping through the process as far as getting base credentials for the access to the change of command. And there's also a separate retirement celebration as well if you'd like to attend that later in the afternoon.
And just a quick note on that, if anybody's never attended a change of command, it's actually it's pretty special.
Anything else from staff?
All right. That'll move us on to our consent agenda. Item CA1 is the approval minutes from April 6th, 2026. Item CA2 is the approval of minutes from April 13th, 2026. And that is it for the consent agenda. Council, what would you like to do?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. That'll move us into our action items for this evening. We'll go ahead and just do item AA right off the bat for the STA tax. Then, Bill, if you would like to brief that. And
So, yes, the SDA board is in the process of trying to put forth a resolution which would place on the August ballot, or at least that was the intent, place on the August ballot a proposal to renew the current 0.2% tax, sales tax that goes specifically for transit. This proposal is basically a continuation of the tax that was initiated in 2016 and provides for the bulk of SDA's funding for operations, capital improvements. It also provides the financial stability for SDA to be able to apply for and receive grants at the state and federal levels. There's considerable debate about this the last couple of months. And it's going to be voted on again, hopefully Wednesday the 29th during a special session. My question for the council is the proposal that was put before us last week, which is currently being held up, did not include a sunset clause to retire the tax at a specific date in the future, unlike the current tax, which was put in place in 2016 and expires at the end of 2028. So my question for the council is, do we favor the inclusion of a sunset clause?
Bill, what would the advantage be if we went in that direction with the sunset clause?
Well, I don't know if there's a specific advantage. There are certainly public relations considerations. Some of the council members were strongly opposed to the fact that it did not include a sunset clause. The idea being that a sunset clause is kind of a fail-safe for the public and for the tax-paying folks to know that there's some accountability. Therefore, if STA doesn't deliver on promises made that we expect to get out of this tax, then the voters know that at a point in the future that tax will come to an end and they can have another, an opportunity to either continue or discontinue or something in between. There was a small amount of debate or commentary about whether having a sunset clause increases or decreases the chances of the measure passing. I honestly couldn't even weigh in on whether that's true or not, or has an impact. As I said previously, personally, speaking as Bill Campbell, the taxpayer, I would favor a sunset clause.
I move to include the sunset clause of a minimum of 10 years for voter accountability. And
What happened?
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second for the inclusion of a sunset clause at 10 years? I have a second. Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any further questions or comments? Sure. Okay. All right, any questions, comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. All right, go ahead.
Just for the folks that are online, we mute everyone that joins via Zoom due to background noise. If you would like to address the council, please make a post in the chat and we will, and the chair will recognize you. Thank you.
So as far as the proposed ballot measure, I think the question that, Mr. Tripp and I were just discussing is this going to, hamstring them into taking a vote on the, that side of it, or is it like a 12-year mat? So what time constraint should we put on it outside of, should it be 10 years or should it be what the actual ballot measure would be for? And we can amend the motion that we just passed as well.
I'm not sure I'm in a position to speak about the timeliness of a 10-year clause. 10 years seems like a reasonable window. I think the STA leadership would probably argue for picking a time frame that aligns with their Connect 2035 plan, which puts us at about 10 years right now.
Okay.
That's just what I was looking to
Yeah.
confirm. Make sure the council's request to have a 10-year window aligns with their proposed for the tax measure.
Keep in mind too, that this tax, if renewed, would commence in, I believe, 1 January 2029. So then it would carry through to the end of
39.
2038, because the current tax expires at the end of 2028.
Yeah. All right, everybody. No need for an amendment. All right, that moves us on to item A, which is going to be the recreational complex parking and battlefield. Mr. Kennedy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tripp, did you want to lead into this or do you want me to take it?
Sure. Let me start off with a quick recap from last week's meeting. Council, during last week's meeting, there was discussions about different components of the project with respect to whether or not the project itself could be broken into parts and pieces, and which of those parts and pieces would score better for grant funding than others. I think we acknowledged during that conversation that perhaps parking might score lower, but the council asked for staff to identify which areas would score better for grants, which areas would score lower for grants. Another question the council had asked about was whether or not when it came to awarding a bid, did the city have the ability to be able to direct the contractor to perform specific elements of the project and not do other elements? That is to say, we'd like you to do the parking lot, but we'd like to pause and hold off on other components of it. And so those questions, along with I think one or two more, Mr. Kennedy did some research on, and he's here today just to provide an update on what his findings were as part of the consideration for the council. JC, feel free to take it from there in terms of what you found relative to those questions.
So yes, we did reach back out to our landscape architect, Sherry Pratt Van Voorhees, and the principal there, Tom Sherry, did confirm that this is something that's common. They could contact Corridor Contractors, who was the low bidder on this project, and issue when they issue the contract, add clauses into it that would in essence be a deductive change order. So they would reach out to Corridor, and Corridor would clearly identify what each one of the elements and the costs associated with each one of those elements, so that we could start with doing the asphalt paving and getting the priority being the parking lot expansion. As we have people right now, as I'm talking to you, there are people parked in our field because there is no parking. So they could do a deductive change order, remove the dugout portion and the outfield home run fence section, and then come back and add those once we get through the main bulk of it and the risk associated with the parking.
So at this point in time, are we calling to reject all the bids or to pass the bids and add that in there under the contract?
Yeah, it's really dependent up to the council. You know, my recommendation last week was to reject all the bids, just due to the timing overall. As Mr. Kennedy noted, there are situations where people are parking in areas because there's not paid parking. But by the same token, you know, just looking at the numbers for what's remaining in that particular account, you know, the bid, there's a difference of about $31,560, low bid versus money in hand. And so that doesn't factor in any other need for those same funds throughout the rest of this year for any type of park impact, capital related purchase.
Yeah, if we were, just to keep it straight, if we were to consider just the parking lot, it'd be nice just to have a bid and know that the cost just for the parking increase allocation, know what we're working with, my view.
Yeah, so how could we potentially do that with, you know, we would love to have that bid in. So would it be a rejection of all the bids besides the parking lot? Or how could we work that in?
The sequence would look something like the council would accept the parent low bidder, in this case, contractor, corridor contractor. So they would be the parent low bidder. You would accept that. And then, as Mr. Kennedy noted, then immediately after the acceptance of that bid, as part of the notice to proceed, we would then do a deductive change order to say we want to do, the only thing we want to do of it is a parking lot itself. Everything else we want to deduct from that. And so that would reduce the scope of work down to only focus on the price for the parking lot.
And then, so right now, we're at 400 and some change for the bid itself. What would that potentially reduce the bid down to?
Do you by chance have the bid tab available, and are you able to see?
That was what I was just referencing, that we would have to have SPVV reach out to Corridor. It was a lump sum bid amount, so Corridor would have to break out those amounts and identify those. And I know that Mr. Tripp provided a briefing sheet. I do have an update to provide to that. We identified that there was $33,300 that have come in to the park reserve fund so far in 2026. That's didn't account for all of the permits. There were some permits pulled as recently as April 8th. And when I printed that out this afternoon, the actual balance this year for funds that have come in this year, instead of being $33,300, it's actually $45,053.90. So that fund continues as permits are being issued, it continues to grow. So the gap between available funding and what is in the account for what we're trying to accomplish here is narrowing as each permit gets pulled.
So JC, is there a deadline for
We have
us
we have to award or reject no later than the 18th. And
18th of May?
yes, and I'm so if again we're kind of getting to a point where we just need to make a decision on what we're going to do.
So council, if you'd like to see just what would be the cost for parking lot improvements between now and before May 18th, that would give the time to specifically go back and pull that lump sum bid apart, have the contractor identify what that amount is, and then you'd be in a position to say, we like that. We'd like to proceed with the lowest apparent bidder, corridor contractor. You award their project in its entirety and then execute the deductive change order specifically with a focus on the parking lot only.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be a good option. So at this point in time, should we take a vote on it to actually push it off, or?
There's something in the chat. I just wanted to.
Okay.
Can you display that on the screen?
Sorry.
Might be easy. And I should have said before, for people that are joining remotely, use the hand raise function or put something in the chat, please, to have the council recognize you. Thanks.
Would you like me to read that? So as Ms. Quisnell says, so essentially we could approve this and the modifications not be at cost effect. Perhaps a different vendor may have a lower cost for just the parking lot.
Okay, so I think at this point in time, since we do have a little bit of time to kind of dig into this a little bit deeper to see, how we can, take the current bid and dissect exactly what we want to get done out of it. And then just like Mr. Tripp said, we can bring it back to the table, accept it in its entirety, but then say we approve it, but we would like this on top of that. So right now, I believe that we should table it. Should we bring a vote to table it or just to move it forward? And okay, well, let's have some more discussion over this. And I think it'd be a good idea to be able to really dig in and see what we want, see what we don't want, and, approve it in its entirety with the projects that we actually want to see moving forward.
I have one question. When it comes to bids for different jobs in the cities, is there anything as far as protocol telling us that we've got to get 3 bids, 2 bids, or all we need is 1?
There is.
The answer is yes, and it depends on the type of project, the dollar amounts, and all of that. I don't remember every single one of those details.
So this project was advertised in the Spokesman Review on 2 occasions. We had the bid opening. We had 6 contractors bid on this. The bids came in below what the landscape architect estimated the bids would come in at for this project. So we received very favorable bids for this project.
Okay, so at this time, we're just going to move it forward to dig into it a little bit deeper. Mr. Kennedy, if we could, or Mr. Tripp, if we could have.
So
No,
my
SPV.
direction is to reach out to the landscape architect, have them contact Corridor, ask for the split on the different elements so that we can exercise the deductive that I described earlier. That's the direction.
Yes, sir. That's what the council would like to see.
I will
I would
send
do
in-
those for all of the elements. That way the council could do a mix and match. If they want to do something above and beyond the parking lot, they'd have the ability to be able to pick and choose based on those options.
You can't go above and beyond anything that was not the scope of the work. So
Okay,
above and beyond so it would be the parking lot. The second part would be the dugouts for the ball players on the field. And the third part would be the home run and foul line poles, that fencing. Those are the three elements for this project.
Okay, yeah, I think getting a breakdown of each of those three elements would be important to the council. All right, everybody good with that? Okay. The next item, item B, is going to be tabled, and item C is going to be after executive session. So that'll move us into item D, which is the prosecutor job description amendment. Mr. Tripp has passed out for our viewing pleasure a couple different documents here. So, Mr. Tripp, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Chair and Council. Before you is a proposed amendment to the prosecutor job description. We discussed this last week in the study session, which includes the genesis for this was recognizing that the prosecutor has additional capacity for which she could assist with general city legal needs. And so the job description has been amended to include those tasks we identified. I passed out a revised copy to you. The only thing that's changed was in the FLA status on the first sheet there. I think previously it said salary non-exempt. And so this one's just cleaning that up. It's a non-exempt position. I also noted as well last week that we're essentially building this particular model as we create it concurrently. So that individuals, first and foremost, their primary role is prosecutor. While she can take on additional duties, we don't necessarily want those additional duties to encroach upon that core work. And so after a couple months of seeing how these additional tasks work, we'll be in a better position to understand whether or not she's able to perform all of the bullets that are listed in this proposed amendment. Apart from that, the salary remains the same. There's no request to change that. That overall scale remains the same. It's just principally the addition of these additional duties that we spoke of last week. And with that, I'll take any questions from the council.
Questions from council? All right, I'm not seeing any. Council, what would you like to do about the prosecutor job description amendment?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any further questions? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. And actually, Cassandra, I didn't see your hand on that one. Sorry. Yeah, I think she's frozen. Yeah. Okay, we'll take that as an abstention. Yep. So whenever somebody gets frozen online like that, well, it's an abstention, but it still passes with a majority of council. So we have 6 of us and then 1 abstention. That measure passes. That'll move us on to item E, which is the consideration of taking the Sakani Park off the market for sale. Mr. Kennedy, the floor is yours once again. And then I do see you back, Cassandra. So we just made that last one. Did you hear all that? Okay.
So I was instructed to bring this forward. The history is all in the agenda worksheet, so I won't read that to you. We've kind of gone back and forth on the disposition of this. There are, with the updates that were made, this area has always been identified as a place with the new residents in that neighborhood. And when we worked with Sakani, when that development was being envisioned during the whole annexation of that area, we did reach out and try to get them to cooperate with us because they had identified the city as the place where these amenities would need to be. We weren't successful in that. We did subsequently purchase this property after sitting on it for a couple of years. We do have a master plan that's been adopted by both the Park Advisory Board and by the City Council for this project. But we started hearing from residents in that neighborhood. Specifically, residents were reaching out to our Park Advisory Board president at that time, letting him know that if this project were to move forward, that they would be against it and they would be vocally against it because they had concerns what we intended to be a park to serve those neighborhoods would in essence be more of a homeless camp with some of the other concerns that had been going on in the region. So we had presented that to the Park Advisory Board, and then they made the recommendation to put that back on the market. Now the need is still there to have a park to serve that. I was instructed to bring this to your attention again and to take it, your consideration to take it off the market and transition back to moving forward to develop it as a park site.
Right, and then the lot itself was listed for what, 200K? Somewhere in that ballpark?
It's, yeah, I think it was listed originally at 300 and then we did a reduction on it. We had a couple of bites on it. We actually had somebody that was really interested in turning it into like a cabinet shop at one point. But at that time, it was also identified as a potential site for a future fire department. So that offer was rescinded. So since then, we haven't had another realistic offer on it.
And I'll just make a comment for some background too. At that time, prior to the City of Boise Supreme Court decision, there was in limbo where, because you couldn't outlaw public camping, but that was since overturned. So now we do have a code on the books where there's no public camping on city property that could be enforced, where at the time when there was objections, that was not the case. Correct?
I'm on the timing, I'm not sure. But the Ninth Circuit case regarding the city of Boise and homelessness has been overturned.
There was also a case not a case, but rather a bill before the Washington State Legislature this session seeking to sort of undo that. It doesn't sound like that was successful this session, although the advocate for the bill did mention they'll probably try again next year.
Yeah. My memory serves. So that appeals court, Ninth Circuit, was 2018. And so since then till that, what was it? Was it 24? It's been a while since it was overturned. Anywhere that 6 or 7 year period, you could not ban public camping, but now you can. So
yeah, how would the council like to? What would you like to do about taking the Sakani Park or the Sakani property off the market?
move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Cassandra.
I have a second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All those opposed? And any abstentions? Then Cassandra? You voted for, okay. All right, well, that measure passes for taking this county property off the market.
Thank you.
And that was 6-1. That'll move us into our ordinances. We have ordinance C-1096. This is the second reading.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is ordinance C-1096, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing and replacing Chapter 2.24 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code, establishing an independent salary commission in order to set the salaries of elected officials, providing for the appointment in terms of salary commission members and for the removal of same, establishing effective dates for salary increases and decreases approved by the Salary Commission, subject to referendum, providing for severability and establishing an effective date and other matters properly related thereto.
All right, Mr. Tripp, would you like to brief on this?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Chair and Council. This is the second reading of this proposed ordinance. As Ms. Supita mentioned, this measure would establish an independent body made up of community members that would then research and decide upon an elected official salary. There are two ways in Washington State, one of which is by the council to pass an ordinance setting elected official salaries, and then this is the second method. Over the past couple of weeks, the council has been discussing the pros and cons associated with this particular measure. As I noted earlier, individuals selected for it, they would have to be members of the Airway Heights community, registered voters in Spokane County. They would also have to be independent from the city itself. But if the body was established, that particular group would then do all the necessary comparisons in order to establish what the elected officials' compensation would be. And there's a prescribed timeline associated when they perform their work and when the results are then published and implemented upon.
And then I would just like to add on that, one of the biggest considerations for moving this forward, especially into a salary commission, I've been on council for 10 years now. And at one point in time, we actually reduced pay for 2 members of the council. And that was done just because we felt it was the right thing to do at the time. And so instead of us voting in pay raises for ourselves, we wanted to have a body of our citizens actually look into what would be fair compensation for us without us voting in a pay raise for ourselves potentially. And only because a lot of us, when we run, we're either running against one other person or we run, as in this last time, we all ran unopposed. So theoretically, we would be voting in a pay raise for ourselves. And if nobody else ran against us, it would be an automatic. So this just gives the citizens input. It puts it in the residents' hands, not in our hands. And we felt that this was the best way to move forward with this. So I just wanted to add that on there. But yeah, council, what would we like to do about ordinance CS 1096?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passes. I'll move us on to item G, which is ordinance C-1119. The second, and this one is for arterial maintenance. Mr. Tripp, I don't see Ms. Miller up there, so floor is yours, sir.
Yep, I will cover it. I'll let Mr. put a reading into the record first.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the second reading of ordinance C-1119, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, amending section 12.12.060 of the Airway Heights Municipal Code and other matters properly related thereto.
Okay, council, second reading of the arterial ordinance, as Public Works Director Catherine Miller had noted previously, pardon the pun, but this is a recognition that the arterial streets within the community are the arteries for carrying most of the traffic to and from throughout the community. That being the case, they are also, as the city performs various upgrades, either reconstruction or amendments to these arterials. With that, there has been an investment in a variety of different improvements, not only the roadway surface, but landscaping, stormwater, what have you. The genesis for this was just recognizing the burden placed upon the adjacent property owner to perform some of those improvements may be greater than what people can bear. And so this proposed ordinance seeks to provide a funding source for ongoing maintenance and upkeep of these arterial once the improvements are made, utilizing revenue flowing from the Transportation Benefit District. I should note as well, it's not uncommon to include the Washington State Transportation Improvement Board, the most recent project the city performed on 6th Avenue, the 6th, 10th, 12th corridor. That's another arterial for the community. A prerequisite of funding agencies is to require that cities set aside funds for the ongoing maintenance and upkeep of these roadways. And that was certainly the case with 6th Avenue as well. So having something like this set up would certainly be able to support that on a going forward basis.
All right.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hence, how did that intertwine with tribal? And then is it still our responsibility to maintain and, cover those expenses if tribal paid?
Yeah, great question. So 10th Avenue between Hayford Road to Garfield Road, not that entire component, but approximately Lyons to Hayford Road did come across property that's owned by the Kalispell tribe. And so the Kalispell tribe was a partner on the construction side for the capital side of the project. However, the city has a maintenance of the roadway, curb to curb, if you will. And so on an ongoing basis going forward, the city's responsible for that, the maintenance activity. But the tribe did participate on the capital side for the construction of the roadway.
Move to approve ordinance C 1119.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, thank you, Mr. Camacho. Any further questions? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. That'll move us into the first read of ordinance C-1120 for repealing funds. If we could please get that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the first reading of ordinance C-1120, an ordinance of the City of Airway Heights, Washington, repealing AHMC Chapter 3.60, AHMC Chapter 3.37, AHMC Chapter 3.51, AHMC Chapter 3.92, AHMC Chapter 3.93, AHMC Chapter 3.62, closing accounting fund number 201 relating to 1997 sewer general obligation bonds, amending AHMC 3.84.010 and other matters properly related thereto.
All right, Ms. Tripp, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Chair and Council. As discussed in the prior study sessions, the goal of the repeal of these respective funds is just to acknowledge the variation in time. These funds were established over a period of time for specific purposes. And as the city has continued to march forward in time, funds, for example, like the 1997 sewer general obligation bonds, that project has been performed, completed, and closed out. So this is an acknowledgement of also the need to roll up these funds and no longer keep them as part of your municipal code.
All right, and since this is a first read, we'll move it forward unless there's any council or comments from none. Everybody good? Okay. Move it forward. And when can we see this? Are we going to see it back on the agenda for the following week?
Correct. On not this coming study session, but the following, it would actually be, I guess, on your May 1st meeting for the
Okay.
second reading.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tripp. I do not see a call for any resolutions, any TBD discussions. At this time, we'll go ahead and open the floor for public or citizen comment. If there's any that have signed up. Yeah, we have and it's perfectly okay. The sign up sheet is right here. You don't have to do it. If you would like to.
Right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can sign up right now. Because these documents just get put into the record as well, correct? All right.
Hi, my name is Brooke Brennan. I live on South Treeline Street. And in 2021, Rennick Street was approved to be put in place behind us. We didn't know when we bought our lot, but they've since put in Rennick Street. And we've noticed that when they sloped our property and the adjacent properties, there's 8 of us total involved. It's already starting to degrade, and the developer of that road and the neighborhood behind us didn't do any maintenance in that area. It's just left to weeds and nastiness and degrading, and it's not safe for our children. So we've been getting bids for a retaining wall in that area. We weren't sure if this needs to come to city council or city planning or what to do with that. So we just wanted to bring that forward to you today of what are our options for that area.
Okay, Mr. Tripp, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. I just have more clarifying questions. Was the street in question called Treeline Street?
No, we live on Treeline Street. Rennick Road was placed behind us.
And you noted that particular roadway itself, there hasn't been maintenance in terms of even mowing or keeping weeds down?
Not at all.
Okay.
There's and we've measured like the distance between the curb to our property line, and it's about 8 feet, and we're, and then we have our setback as well, but there's never been any maintenance done into that valley at all. And so it's just causing sloping at the, I mean, it was sloped already, which was a whole other thing. It's like it's sloped from all the way down from where, because Rennick Street, is it Lyons that it runs into, or because it's right before Easy Street or just east of Easy Street? That, anyways, it's sloped, and it did. It was a weird situation when we moved in, and I had just had a baby, and there were people walking through that to that house over on Easy Street, and it was a time. Let me tell you, it was a time. So, we're just kind of noticed the sloping. There's now degrading in that area, and then whoever developed that never put grass in. They never did any maintenance. They just left it. So there's trash in there. There's no grass. There's no maintenance whatsoever. On tree line. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. There's 8 affected total. 2 are very minorly sloped. And have chosen to put fences higher up on their property line and lose 15 feet of property.
And then what about the houses on the end?
That's me.
Okay.
Oh yeah. We were the most affected. We lost 164 feet by 8 feet of land. Yeah.
It's another quick question. When you say there's a slope there,
Mhm.
what gave rise to some of the individuals wanting to put a retaining wall there? Was that to prevent water flow or something else from occurring?
We all have children. We're a neighborhood full of children, and having that slope, just today when we were outside playing, if the kids are in their cars, they go right down into the street. They go, it's become a hazard at this point, and as it more degrades further. So we've put in a kind of like started our own retaining wall in our backyard a little bit. But we have been kind of DIYing it slowly but surely over time. Even with that, though, the slope was significant enough to just see the kids, like, they just go right off. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Tripp, is there any way that we can have building actually check the slope gradient, make sure everything was in accordance with the project, or?
I did look up that when we first moved in as well. So the grading was appropriately done from my understanding. And I've talked to city planning about that a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And then it was kind of, and I've seen all the plans for the sloping all the way up and like the grading and everything. And we brought up and ours up, like I said, we put in on our property line, we put in a slight retaining wall. But there's still no maintenance, the 8 feet between the property lines and the curb either.
There's no houses that are going to be built behind.
No, there's no way to build a house there. There's houses on Rennick Road, but they're on the east side only. There's only the 5 to 8 feet that it is between the curb line and our property lines.
Okay, yeah, because we were looking at the
Mhm.
county assessor and the actual maps from the back side of the road,
Mhm.
and it does go right up.
We've done our own stuff within codes. I have looked those up as we've worked and everything. But I know a lot of folks are still moving into the neighborhood. So Urena is one of them. And there's 6 of us houses that are looking at hopefully getting a retaining wall installed.
Well, I'm just more worried about, and not to say I'm not worried about your property, but
Yeah.
water runoff and
Yes.
making sure that, that road doesn't flood with.
There's
the
a
ground.
very deep crevasse in that as well.
Was developed.
It's still not maintained either. So.
And then who would have the maintenance of that?
It would be the underlying property owner.
So it would be,
In this particular case, I'm not sure who the builder is, but if
It was
DR
not our builder, and we were never informed that it was going to occur.
the builder's like a DR Horton, if you will, in terms of like if they're the underlying owner of the properties or the lots that are undeveloped, then they would also be the ones for the responsible for the maintenance side.
It wasn't DR Horton either or Viking. It was another one. I did look them up, and I was going to ask them to pay for the retaining wall as well, potentially, because they just kind of came in one day and we lost our property.
Council, I think just in summary, there's a variety of different items here, one of which sounds like maintenance in general as far as weeds and debris. Another one is a question as to whether or not the site was sloped properly. So that's another area we'll follow up on to determine whether or not the builder actually constructed it appropriately. If so, that's one thing. If not, then there may be opportunities for mitigating that.
because at that point it would be the builder of the road, not necessarily.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, let us look into it.
Mhm.
And if we have your contact information, definitely we can follow up with you and get back to you?
Yeah, and we did get a few quotes for, if you guys want that information. One of them is a local concrete that lives in the community as well, and he would be willing to do it as well. So,
Okay.
yes.
Phone number and email there as well.
All right. Okay. And then are you satisfied with that, ma'am? Or we go, okay. Is there anybody else who would like to address council? I'm not seeing any. Okay. So at this time, there's no call for a workshop. Mr. Gibbons, the floor is yours.
Regarding the executive session, the purpose will be to discuss with legal counsel current or potential litigation and discuss with legal counsel legal risks of current or proposed action. And this should take 30 minutes. We can reconvene at 7 o'clock. And if there's a need to extend the time, we will put it in the chat for the folks online.
Okay, so we're going to jump into executive session, so we're going to remain up here, which means everybody would wait downstairs if you would like to, as soon as we come back into session. No, thank you. Appreciate you bringing it up to us. Well, hey, thank you guys for coming. Now, everybody get up, stretch, go to the bathroom. No. All of them. I have that type of relationship.
Hey, Dad, can you check the video, see if it works okay? No, I don't have. Okay.
Is Johnson this?
So.
For those of you that got the invitation to join that room, please do so now.
Oh, all right, we are back from executive session at 7:01. And did we go into a breakout session or did we just kick everybody out? Okay, do we need to go back to a regular session? Yeah, we may have. Okay, so we are recording again. All right, so coming back in the session, we still have item B was tabled. We still have one last. Oh. All right, everybody good? Okay, and we're recording again. All right. So last item for action item this evening, item B was tabled. And then item C is going to be the MOU with Airway Heights Public Safety Guild. Council, what would you like to do about the MOU?
Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Thank you much. Any further questions or comments? Not seeing any. All those in favor? All right, that passed unanimously. And that'll move us. If there's nothing else for this evening, that'll move us into adjournment at 7:03 PM.
And we'll route the MOU for signature to both the guild side people and the city side people